Hello, my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and with me today are my good friend John Erigo. John, we had a lot of fun doing the last interview. I've interviewed you many times over years, and so what we've decided, since we had so much fun, is we're going to check in with you once a month. We're going to call this Kickass Forever Monthly. So I know you kind of
I
had
like it.
a chuckle at that last time, but I want people to know, where you're from and check out your stuff too. So today we decided we're going to talk a little bit about Metallica. And I don't know if you want to get any of your stories about in the past with your fanzine, how you supported Metallica. But first, why don't we start off with they're coming out with a new album called 72 Seasons. Have you had a chance to check out any of the um, new music that's been posted so far?
Oh yeah, totally, of course. But just real quick
Yeah,
before we move on to Metallica, there was something that I didn't mention. Only at the half hour about the last conversation we had about
sure, sure,
Creatures of the Night.
sure.
Okay, real quick. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but one song on that album actually was released by another band before that album. Did you know
Oh,
that?
I refresh my memory. I think I've heard something about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rock and Roll Hell was
that,
actually written and recorded by Bachman Turner Overdrive.
that's right. Wow, wow.
But it's a different it's a different version of the song. I mean the whole feel is different. The lyrics are different. But the chorus is similar, and a lot of people don't realize that. I think it was Jim Valance that wrote that uh, for Bachman Turner Overdrive, and then they took it and Gene, I think, kind of reworked his little,
Kind of like what they did
Simmonsisms.
on God Gave Rock
Do
and
you
Roll to
love me?
You. I mean, that was
Yeah.
original tuna, but yeah, it's considered kind of a Kiss song, or even King of the Nighttime
Do
World.
you
Yeah,
Right, King of the Nighttime World. Yep, yeah. And even with a lot of people don't realize, Ace didn't wasn't the first to record New York Groove. So
yeah, yeah. Russ
just had
Ballard.
to throw that. I just had to throw that in because I can't believe I forgot about that because it
Yeah,
kind of
well,
freaks
again,
people out. Like
our
Bachman
time
Turner
was limited,
Overdrive.
so it makes sense that you might have
No, no,
forgot
it's
that.
fine. It's cool.
I,
As far as the new Metallica stuff, again, before we get going on this, I want this to go viral.
sure,
I have
sure.
a challenge. I have a challenge for Metallica. So Lars, if you're listening,
Yeah, yeah,
recently there was a lot of talk about doing the Big Four again, and Mustaine was kind of like chiming in, that he
yeah,
wanted to do it obviously because good
yeah.
payday, right? But it's kind of hard to do because Slayer is
Retired.
done,
Yeah.
you know. But my shirt that I'm wearing here is from a very special show that Metallica did when Johnny Z passed away. They did a one-off show down in Hollywood, Florida, and it was with my buddies Raven,
Oh, wow.
who Metallica opened for on their first USA tour. And Metallica had Kill 'Em All for One was just about to come out, and Raven had All for One, so they called it the Kill 'Em All for One tour, which I thought was kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
So to honor Johnny Z and Marsha Zazula, who passed away
Yeah,
also, the ones that gave them their first record deal and
yeah,
stuff,
of
they
course.
played this special show in Florida, and Raven opened. And cool side note, John Gallagher dedicated a song to me on stage, which was absolutely awesome.
Wow.
But here's my challenge for you, Lars. Are you listening? We can't do the Big Four. The Big Four has been done. Slayer's done. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do the first four? Take out take out Anvil, take out Raven, and take out Exciter or Venom if you can get Venom to reunite and do the first four.
Wow.
Metallica doesn't need these other bands to open for them to sell tickets. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a full tour. It can even be a couple of shows. It doesn't have to be in stadiums like the last time. But how cool would it be for Metallica to recognize the bands that started out like
Yeah.
even before them,
Oh,
that
sure.
they took that kind of music and took it to a new level. I think it would be awesome if they could take those bands out on some kind of special little package shows or something and
Especially,
called the first four.
especially since Raven was just recognized this year by the Metal Hall of Fame. Finally somebody
Right.
recognized them.
And a few years ago Anvil got in. And that fourth band really should be like it should be Venom, but Venom's not really together. If you can get Kronos and Mantis to reunite, but you could take Exciter, who's been playing shows, I think that would be freaking amazing for us old school fans,
Oh,
and it
sure.
would show the new school fans where the old school came from. So, all right, sorry, I'm taking up a lot of our
No,
time here
no,
on
no,
old stuff,
no. This is still Metallica related. Now,
But
so
that I really want that I really want to try and get that to go viral. I want the first four instead of the big four,
there you
because
go.
without the first four there was no big four. So
What a
bands like Rave, especially Raven and Anvil, not just because they're my friends, but because
yeah,
those bands set the ground, that Metallica walks
sure,
on.
sure.
So anyway, okay, sorry. All
No,
right, so
no,
these
no,
new
no.
three songs, yes, yes,
Yeah,
I
I was gonna
have
say,
heard them.
let's start off with the first one I heard was, what do you think of Darkness? If Darkness Had a Son?
I like all three songs. I
Yeah,
heard them, as they came out. Lux Eterna, I think that's how you pronounce it.
yeah, yeah,
The first one that they put out, I think that really had a vibe of like the It's Electric cover that they did by Diamond Head. And really,
sure.
the way he sings the chorus is almost like the way he sang, It's Electric. Um, and then what was the third one that they put
They
out was
had
a song
they
that was
had Screaming
if,
Suicide, Screaming
and if
Suicide,
darkness,
and If Darkness Had
yeah.
a Son.
Darkness Had a Son. I think a couple of people got lost on that one because it was one of those like epic Metallica kind of things where it was like 7 minutes long.
That's the first thing I
But
noticed. The length of some of these songs, like one was 7 minutes, one was 8 minutes. And interesting thing, I know Metallica on like the first three albums, that's a thing they used to do, like, oh, I have to make long songs. And it didn't seem like these were. It seemed like it was a 7 minute song, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
I dug all three songs, and I got to say, these three songs sound
yeah.
like classic Metallica. It sounds like it could have been on any of the three first albums, you know?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think as far as these bands that we love, that have been around for, you know 40 years or more, it's very, very unfair to the artist to
Yeah,
try and say, well, how come you don't sound like your second album?
yeah,
Yeah, what most people don't realize is that, you have to think about it, not even musically, just like in life. Look at where they are now
yeah.
than where they were back then. I mean, like, I met Metallica like
Years
before
ago.
Kill 'Em All came out,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were celebrating. And the night that I met them, they were celebrating because they found a place to shower.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
Right? So how can you expect a band to
Sound the same.
sound the same because they were like what, 19, 20 years old at the time? They
Yeah.
had no money, they had nothing,
And,
and when you
members.
have that, it's just like Kiss, like look at them, they're eating pizza crust,
Yeah.
so the band could eat, they're eating the crumbs from the pizza so the band could eat so they could stay on the road. When you're in that position, with the fire in your belly, and you're young and you're rebellious, you cannot create. I don't care who you are. You can't create the same music when you're 200, 300 million dollars richer 40 years later. It's just not
Yeah.
going to happen,
I do think
and
this,
plus
John, though,
all those.
on these three songs I've heard so far, not only does it remind me of classic Metallica, but I think, like, I love the last album, Hardwired to Self Destruct, but I think this one, maybe, I dare say, this lineup's the best album to date. I think they're finally at a point where this lineup's been together long enough that they're comfortable with each other, you know?
I really like I like the last two. I thought Death Magnetic was really
Yeah.
good too. There's a lot of songs on there I really like, and I really like Hardwired. But I think the thing with Hardwired was the whole Kirk Hammett cell phone losing. We're not going to use your riffs issue,
Yeah.
I think that's why you might get a different flavor on this one a little bit, because Kirk's involved again, which is great because I mean, like, Kirk. If you really listen to these new songs, like I said, even on the last album, Kirk's really ripping again.
Well,
Not that
that's
he
what I
never, not
noticed.
that he never was, but
Yeah, that's what I noticed. The guitar riffing is back. The heavy
yeah,
riffing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no doubt,
yeah.
no doubt. And not for anything, I challenged Lars before. Lars back in the day was known to be kind of an erratic drummer, and he's gotten a lot better over the years. He because what he used to do, I think, especially live, he used to try and do too much,
Yeah.
because everybody was like, "Oh, Lars sucks." You know, he doesn't suck. Okay, he's not like one of these jazz drummers, but he doesn't suck, and he's gotten a lot better. He's a much more consistent, I think, these days, which is very important to
How could you
have.
not be
So
after all these years of playing? And I've even heard James
Right.
Hetfield
Yeah.
tell the story that kind of in his own greed to kind of want to get ahead in his musical career. He says Lars was not a great drummer when I first met him. He says, but he had contacts. He knew Brian Slagle. He knew people that could help us get a record deal. That's why I got with the guy, and obviously he's gotten better, as you say, over the years.
Well, there was a lot of inside room. I don't know if this ever made it out to the press, but because I knew,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
close to the vet, there were rumors that they wanted Charlie from Anthrax to be in Metallica. This is going back,
yeah, yeah.
I would say probably around when Kill 'Em All was out,
Wow.
because they had become friendly with Anthrax and they were blown away by Charlie, and there was kind of like a thing, But I
Right
mean,
on.
yeah, Lars is the businessman.
Yeah,
So it's kind of his baby,
yeah,
him and James. So,
yeah,
and then there was also during the tour with Wasp and Armored Saint, they were asking John Bush if he wanted to come on and be the singer
yeah,
of Metallica because James didn't want to sing. And to be honest, back at that point when they played live, James did not sound that good. Actually, the whole band didn't sound that great back in the beginning. Kirk and Cliff, were pretty solid musicians, but the amazing thing about them back then, like when they first started, was when you saw them live,
yeah,
was like it wasn't even what they were playing, it was how they were playing it. There was this kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, not a frantic, but there was like this energy that the band, like they were like just like chopping people's heads off when they
yeah,
came
yeah,
out and played.
yeah,
There was no stopping them. And I can remember sitting in the clubs, like back at Lemoore in Brooklyn, excuse me, where they first started, in the East Coast. And me and my friend, again, I mentioned him last episode,
yeah,
my friend Ed Hillel, me and him were like, and we still are, like brothers. And we talk a lot about these kind of things. And it was like, how is this band gonna like keep going? It's
yeah,
like MTV had just like started. We're like, there's no
yeah,
way MTV is gonna play this, and there's no way radio stations are gonna play this. So how are these guys gonna make it?
yeah.
It's just too heavy.
And you got
If
to
you can
remember,
believe that.
you got to remember those first three albums. They were really they're really heavy. They were a new kind of big metal band at the time, and they were kind of so anti MTV and anti radio. They went out of their way not for several years until the
Yeah.
Black, really until 1988. That's when they released the first music video, One, and that's the only reason that got on MTV because they finally released. But they the movie that's part of the One video, from what I understand, they went to the trouble of buying the rights to the movie even just so they could have all that footage to use.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm and it was bands like I mentioned before, like with this first fourth thing, like Raven and Metallica, as heavy as they were, there were elements of their songs that were not
melodic.
commercial, but
Yeah.
yeah, melodic or appealing. They had choruses you could sing to, like get stuck in your head kind of thing.
Like the way
With
James writes his
Metallica,
lyrics, there's melody to some of that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the Metallica songs were brutal. I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
and live they were just like a buzzsaw. Not those other bands
yeah,
weren't, but and I remember when on Master of Puppets, where this is their third album in, they
yeah.
still had no videos, they had no radio play, and they got the opening gig for Ozzy, and I'm at a show, and I'm in like the middle section of an arena, a place that holds. I'm in Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, place that holds what
Yeah,
16,000 people, and it's
yeah,
sold out. And the part in the song is like die, die,
yeah,
die, and I see 16,000 kids standing on their feet with their fist pumping die, and I'm looking around. I'm like, how the hell did this happen? I'm like, these guys are going to be fucking huge. This is
yeah.
crazy. And then the One video came out and it changed everything.
Yeah, yeah. And see, after the first three albums, I mean, that's the end of one era because obviously the death of Cliff Burton, and then and on those first three albums as we talked about, they were running away from radio and MTV. So after they put out
Yeah.
the video and then comes the Black album, Um, if they
Everything
wanted it or
changed.
not, radio and MTV and all the fans, all of a sudden, they love the Black Album. MTV and the radio, as far as Metallica was trying, not embracing it originally, radio and MTV
Yeah.
embraced them, and they had no choice but to continue to make music videos from that point on.
Yeah, I think the big turning point was that tour, the tour for the Black Album. I think it literally lasted like 3 years, which back
Yeah,
then was not normal. I mean, they swung by my area like 4 or 5 different times with different
yeah,
openers,
yeah.
different, and then they were doing the in the round show, where they were selling out like the whole arena. And I remember the tour with like the stuntman going on fire, and they had all this crazy
Yeah.
stuff. And I mean, that's the thing that really cemented the legacy. That was like the building blocks to that really set things off for the future, because
Even
that
what they're
tour
doing
was just
today,
as epic.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so, what?
today it's a lot different.
How did you feel when you heard the
Sorry,
news? Obviously, Cliff Burton died. I mean, um, did you embrace like Jason Newsted right away? Were you like, oh, this is a new thing,
oh
or
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, like, it was. What are they gonna do? I mean,
yeah,
they had
yeah,
to get somebody.
yeah, yeah.
And Jason, I thought Jason was perfect. And Jason was, he was perfect fit. The whole thing with Cliff, to this day, it still bothers me a lot, because
So young.
there's still, I think, a lot of mystery around what happened. Like the driver saying there was black ice, and I remember, I think it was Scott from Anthrax. Sorry, my cat is trying to
That's
paw
all
my
right. That's all
feet.
right.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think it was Scott from Anthrax. I think they were on tour with Anthrax, and he's like, people were standing around saying there was no black ice on the road.
yeah.
So I don't know. Either way, whatever happened, it was a damn shame.
Tragic.
I mean, something that I personally met and spoke to,
Uh,
um, a few times. It was a tragedy. For us metal fans, it was
sure,
just
sure.
like, because um, he was a very strong character. He wasn't like the other guys who would, like laughing and goofing around a lot. And Cliff was quiet and he was calculated, but he was so cool. There was such a coolness about him. He had like a real cool aura to him, I guess you could say. And I could see that influence that he had musically too, because he introduced those guys to a lot of stuff that they didn't know about or listen to, beforehand. So his influence was great in the band.
So
And
much so
as
that
far
they
as
moved to
Jake,
San Francisco. That was his one demand on kind of joining the band. Well, okay,
yeah, it was a
you
good,
guys want me in the
smart
band,
move
you got to
too.
move to San Francisco. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good move, because that thrash scene in San Francisco was happening. Really wasn't like an LA thing at that time. So yeah, it was a smart move.
I
And
think what
yeah,
difference the metal scene and the thrash scene in San Francisco, the Bay Area, was is if you think about it, it was kind of interesting. All of a sudden, the Bay Area, these metal bands are breaking out in a huge way, and like in the '60s and '70s, it was the hippie generation
yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, you had Exodus and Slayer, and uh, even Cliff's old band Trauma, who are still going today. There's a whole bunch of bands
Yeah,
that
I was
that
going to
that
just bring that
that
up. Trauma is they've survived and lasted all these years. They never broke out in a huge way. They're starting to with this latest album they put out. Um, I've interviewed a couple of guys, so I'm really happy to see they're finally getting some attention there. They're of
yeah,
course on the tour with Queensryche and Marty Friedman, so that's helping to raise
yep.
their profile.
Yeah, and of course Metallica is touring with what, Pantera and Wolfie Van Halen, and
Yeah,
you know
amazing.
again, I don't think it's funny too, because I started noticing this obviously a while ago, but Metallica's been around for so long now. Metallica is kind of like uh our generation's Grateful Dead.
Yeah. Well, I
I know
mean,
that's a
yeah,
weird
because
comparison.
every time there's a Metallica release, it's like a major event. Even kind of like what Kiss. I mean, even this latest one, 72 Seasons, which comes out April 14th. I understand if like the night before they're going to have some kind of listening party. It's a
Yeah,
movie release or something, and I want to go see that. And
yeah,
it just something like that is so fun and exciting. I think for the fans and the upcoming tour, from what I understand, they're not going to play any two like shows with the same set list. Each show is going to kind of
right.
be unique in its own, which is kind of
Well,
cool for a band to do.
yeah, they're doing a no repeat thing where they're playing, I think, Friday and Sunday,
Yeah.
and there are no two songs are repeated in the set list, which is kind of cool.
I think the point of
Yeah,
that they said is so if you have like if somebody's playing in your town, if Metallica's playing in your town like 2 nights in a row, you're not going to see the same show.
yeah, and that's awesome. And that God knows they have enough songs to do it, right? And if
Yeah.
they're only playing two songs, I would the thing that's weird to me about that is they're only playing two shows a week, which is kind of strange. Only playing Fridays and Sundays, and and again, that's that luxury that they have, and I mean, if you think about that, that means they got to pay the crew and everything,
And
keep them on retainer.
yeah, they are getting older. If we want to admit it too, John, or not, maybe they can't do it like they used to. Maybe need a few more nights off to rest between shows. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
Even the
yeah,
guys at
and
Motley
plus
Crue
they
are in
got
their 60s. Kids is in their 70s. Some of them.
yeah, and they all have families. I think a lot of that had started because even up until recently, they would tour for like 2 weeks and then take like a
Yeah.
week off and 2 weeks and a week off, and a lot of that had to do with the families. They all got kids and stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
getting that balance. And the road's a tough thing. Especially when you're older and you're playing I mean, they're not like they're up there like the Rolling Stones
Yeah.
playing like nice mellow, not
Yeah.
mellow, but just rock songs. They're playing intense, heavy,
Yeah.
and I can tell you from being in bands that when you play those heavier songs, man, everything like elevates,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot out of you, like even emotionally,
Sure.
and as you get older, it's that's not easy to recover from. So if
Even
this makes
even as a
Metallica,
fan in the audience singing along with because your band's playing the songs on stage, you get pretty tired out. But you
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
I just want to say, James's vocals on these new songs are like his vocals are on fire, and I think this album is a return to the classic. It's got a kind of also a modern sound. I think, like what I tell people, if the rest of the album sounds like this, I mean, anybody that thought
yeah,
Metallica was a pop band, let me tell you, I think they obviously have
yeah.
the capability to do both, but this is kind of a return to the metal sound, for
Well,
roots.
again, they've earned the right to do what they want.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was the Grateful Dead comparison I was trying to make was that when Metallica goes on tour, like the Grateful Dead used to do, they don't need an opening band and they
Yeah.
don't need a new album. They could go Metallica play arenas for the rest of their lives and never put out another note of music. I believe that. And
Yeah.
it will sell out everywhere. They've earned this worldwide status as just like a mega band. And the fact that they're even making new music is a treat for the fans
Sure.
too,
Sure.
because it's
Yeah.
like a lot of like look at Kiss, they're
Yeah. They
gonna
don't
go
need
out.
to always.
Their legacy is gonna end with Monster. You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
there's a lot of time has passed since that album came out.
Yeah.
And the fact that Metallica is what they're 40 years. Is it
Yeah.
40 years now?
Yeah. At least. Yeah.
40 years in. I
Yeah.
think the first album, right? Yeah.
Well, you know what? In
So
fact,
it's like,
Kill Them All is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. So, maybe down the line we'll have to do a show on that. but,
yeah,
but
sure. But yeah, they're 40 years in and they're still making,
new
music,
music.
and it's still, yeah, they're still making new music and it still sounds, killer.
Oh, sure.
I'm psyched for the album, and I'm praying to the metal gods that I was promised that I'm going to have it before it comes out to do a review. So I'm really excited about that. I just don't know when I'm getting it. Um, Also, I do have tickets to go see that movie
Oh, wow.
theater thing where, from what I understand, it's kind of like the last album that they made a music video for every song.
How cool is
So what
that?
they're going to do is they're going to play all those videos, but also it's going to be live. Well, they say it's live.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually live, but in between the songs, the band's going to be on the screen talking about the songs and maybe the
I mean,
meaning behind
do
the
you
lyrics
know
and how
how
they came
much,
about writing it.
how long, all the preparation must have went into making this movie thing in addition to recording the new album. I mean, they've been working on this for a while. And I love even the
Yeah.
night before, what a way to kick off or premiere your album
Oh
in
yeah.
a movie theater. And that's for the true diehards. Yeah, John, I had a lot of fun doing this today. I'll tell you what, I'm hoping by maybe the next time we do this, we'll have had a chance to hear a complete album. Maybe we can do like a review of the whole album. I'll check with you to see if you've
Well,
had a chance.
yeah, yeah. It depends how much time I get to listen to it.
Yeah. Well, if not,
You need
we'll
a few
save that for a
spins.
future show. But yeah,
Yeah, because it's going to be a lot to take in because Metallica they give you a lot of music to listen to. So, but
sure.
yeah, man, we'll definitely talk it up.
Okay,
Looking forward to it.
and also maybe next time you can tell some of your stories of working with Metallica or even Twisted Sister you mentioned last time. I'd love to hear some of those stories.
Oh, yeah, a lot of Twisted Sister stuff.
Okay, well, you take care, my friend. This is fun, so we'll keep it up. I'll let you know when this post. Take care, John, and thanks for doing this.
Hey, Jason, from the bottom of my heart, man, I appreciate you remembering me all these years and always coming back to me, man. It's very cool
Oh,
to be
you're a big
remembered. So
time supporter of all the great music like me, so we appreciate that. Take care, John.
thank
Bye
you,
bye.
sir. All right, take care. Bye.